Genie grind, I wish I'm getting rich, huh? Remember when I said I hit a lick, huh? I don't really wanna fuck the bitch, what? Willie went and made another hit, okay, like Prada on my motherfucking kid, huh? Louis on my motherfucking hip, huh? Curry how I dunk, no switch, hey, fucking gonna fuck that bitch, hey, if you ain't gon' fuck with me, you a dumb fuck, put up a hit but feel like one punch, look at my bank and I'm getting dumb rich, and I'm gonna count it up till 100.
As they all wait there in silence until finally Merlin is able to pick up himself barely as he tries to lift his head up from the ground. Naofumi grabs onto his shirt and brings him up to his feet. However, Merlin is barely able to stand on them. Naofumi, however, just carries him by his shoulder, basically able to carry him off the ground. The cat was over there still crying its eyes out, and when it looked up and saw its master, walking, it bawled out as his master as it ran straight at him and pounced at him. Naofumi's just like, oh god, and just like destroys Merlin as it just rolls around and like starts to cuddle with him on the ground. And he's just like, oh, okay, he probably just broke all the bones that were still left, as Merlin's like, I love you too, cat. Oh my god. As Naofumi also puts away some of his tears, but then he starts to hear war bands, some shit from like Lord of the Rings or something like that, as thousands of of men start to walk out of the gates, all soldiers decked out in armor. He can sense their power. Each one is about 30. After the first 1,000 get out, shaping themselves in a V formation, the other one, second squadron of 1,000, come out of the left, positioning themselves to the left in a very odd positions. They seem to be more professional, around level 45. As the queen looks worried, both furrowing both of her brows. Naofumi puts his hand on her shoulder, which was, actually kind of dusted by this point, after she was barely recovering. She lets his hand sort of rest down onto her, for she had no more energy. He says, "Don't worry. I'll defeat them." She's like, "That's not what I'm worried about, Naofumi. Shield Hero, please, listen to my call. Listen to my request. I know you have had many, and I know all of your quests must have gone very far, and taken a lot from you. But can you please help me with my kingdom? Help me take back what was rightfully mine. Defeat my sister and corrupt husband. I beg of you." She almost prostrates herself on the ground, sort of begging Naofumi. A quest shows up in his face. It's been a while since I saw this, but the quest, of course, was all glitchy, of course, just like every single else. However, this one was straightforward. It seemed to actually make sense and showed almost all the information about it. His reward was a elven armor, a elven headset, which would match his armor, his blackened armor, and tons of experience if he was to defeat the two of them. He says, no more of that. However, then he starts to remember, what about all the rest of my quests? Can I get rewards for those if I just check them? He tries to turn on his menu screen again. After all, it just kept on phasing out, and all he sees is 5 quests completed out in the description of his title bar. He giggles to himself a little bit as she looks up to him confused, as he's like, "Oh God, get up from the ground! Jesus, I'm not that type of tyrant. Listen, I'll accept, because that's exactly what I wanted to do this whole time. You never needed to give me a quest. And as, Merlin, leaning on the cat, comes up next to him, Motoyasu comes up to the left of the queen. And, they all just, stand there on the edges of the precipice of death. They see 3 massive armies, each one of thousands of soldiers, all prostrating themselves in front of the king and mine. They give their speech, however, he is unable to hear it, since they were using voice amplification to let the whole army hear them. However, they were unable to. The queen had great hearing and said that it didn't even matter. Heathens will speak to heathens. There is no difference. But she did find one thing interesting. They called in for support, as Naofumi raises one brow to this. And then... he hears loud footsteps coming from somewhere. As she says, "Yes, I heard it many, many times before. It seems that the giants are here. Paid off by them, most likely." Massive titans of men rise over the sunrise, followed by a royal courier. Mine joins this royal courier as she walks in front of the giants, telling them stuff that they can barely hear. As the giants, get ahead of them, 10 giants, taller than the buildings inside of the place, and bigger, and around 50 feet tall, each one of them, 50 yards tall. They are towering above the rest of the armies. Their clubs big enough to kill 1/4 of them in one swing. As the biggest one wearing some sort of Viking helmet, and his tattoos that of fish and of dragon. He looked down to Naofumi. As Mine starts to introduce them as the giants of the West, he halts her, saying, "I will only answer to those that I find worthy." His massive booming voice sort of silencing all chatter in the crowds. "State your name, boy." As, Naofumi just looks up to him. However, in one look, Naofumi gave something that the giant has never seen, never felt. In all of his years, I have never seen one with such hatred. He looks to the right, seeing the queen, not in terror, but confident. You'll have to excuse me. "It seems that we have met our match, boys." As all 9 of the giants behind him start to laugh, quaking the ground below them. It was an intense and yet fruitless effort in trying to make humor of the current situation. "I see." As Mine's like, "What? What do you say I see for?" As he's like, "Shut up, wench. We're done here. It's not worth it." As, he starts to walk away, the giants just start to go their own direction. As Mine starts to complain and yell at them, he says, "Shut up, wench, or you'll be caught in my axe's area too. He's not worth it. I will tell you that." And they just leave, exiting off to the right. As Naofumi, lets down some breath as he was actually kind of worried. The queen, lets down a huge gasp as she falls down onto her knees. One of her royal guard actually bring her back up to her feet, and give her one of her many cigarettes that Motoyasu has introduced into this world. As Naofumi actually gives Motoyasu a big scolding about this. However, Motoyasu is just like, aye, there was supply and there was demand. What could I do?
However, he protests. Motoyasu just says, hey, it's part of my passion to create. Naofumi understands. After all, that's part of his passion too. However, he wished to create peace. Motoyasu says, what's that you got? Seems like you already have one, as Motoyasu was about to pass him one. Naofumi checks in his pocket, finding a mysterious item. A cigarette. A fat one. Big enough to make a quarter quiver in its smallness. It was already smoked. As he presses on it, seeing the item's description, it seems to be a mysterious item smoked only by the devil. It imbues your lungs with ashes, and whoever you put it out on turns to that exact thing. A demonic weapon only used by those who have truly quelled their own fears. He must have gotten this from completing the future quest. He was so busy losing his arm and trying to revive, frickin' Merlin, that he must have missed it. He looks more, but decides to take a puff of it. It's been almost a year. As it causes a lot of problems for Naofumi. Dang, I didn't know I was that rusty. He almost falls over because he coughs so bad. He coughs out ashes as this starts to worry Motoyasu. But Naofumi puts his hand up saying, it's fine. He coughs into his hand thousands of ashes as they spread throughout. It seeps through his body as he starts to get used to it, sort of recontorting himself. The hell was that? As then all the war horns stop, and everyone's in their positions. Naofumi makes a big sigh. My friends, we have come so far. Some of you newer to my cause, Queen. And some of you old times. Been here since the beginning, Lily. As he says, but I need you guys to get her. I'll take them all on by myself. I need you to teleport in behind this. Get Lily out of there. For me. As they're like, what? What are you talking about? That's suicide now for me. Plus, we're not going to leave you to fight 3,000 men. As he says, don't worry. I have gathered so much for this one purpose. We have all been through our own traumas. I know. Physical trauma, in my case. Fucking betrayal trauma. And as it shows Naofumi, the queen and Motoyasu in the same frame. It looks over and sees, freaking Merlin, as he says, the trauma of failing over and over and over again. It affects you mentally. Merlin, I ask all of you, please allow me to fight this war for you, as I have for the elves. For if I was to fight for myself, it would be selfish. I'd be no better than the kingdoms that we have here. The queen and Merlin make a big point about not killing any of them. Naofumi says, yes, of course, about that. Can't you feel that? Can't you feel them? I can feel them. I can feel them all. Their souls clamoring and huddled inside of those shallow bodies. They're forced onto these front lines, you realize? The cult, it's gone so far deep and dug its nails down into the very core of this nation. It's fucked. It's so fucked. I can't hold myself much longer. Motoyasu, if you're really planning on fighting with me. The bitch. Is that who you want? As Motoyasu looks to the battlefield and looks back at him. Well, we better get started. As Motoyasu readies up his spear, changing it to the falconers to mimic that of Philo. The one that he is truly in love with, he realizes. As Naofumi nods to him. Naofumi throws down his shield and immediately hops down onto it. He charges down the mountain right at the soldiers as all 3,000 of them start to charge. 500 of them staying back as they are the priests of the order. Naofumi, as he's riding down the mountain, screams out a war cry, boosting up his power. As he charges straight into the crowd, immediately blasting out the middle of them, punching and kicking all around him. He's basically a blur inside all of the men. As spears and swords are chucked around, people's bodies being thrown at light speed. However, he seems to be picky about those who he hits, who he kills. And he hits one of them as he flicks up his cigar into the air and throws one of the men up to hit it. As he's erased, his armor goes first, revealing a slave mark on his chest. A cult mark, actually. As they all look down to him, he says, "You all are corrupted by the cult, am I correct?" As he raises up his hand, he collects the soul of the guy who was just sacrificed. To ashes with him. And I have released his soul. It will be of good use in my hands. He can now rest. And soon all of you will find yourselves in the same hole. As they all charge at him, saying, we will die before we die to you, monster." As he's like, sure. And he ultimate defenses all of their attacks using Spike Shield, allowing him to basically deflect all of the damage. Once he gains enough MP from this, he raises up his Holy Shield, allowing him to cast enough of this Spirit Valhalla Unleashed, as this is his final attack for the Spirit King. Doing a contract with the Spirit King allows him to release all of the spirits that are inside of Spirit Valhalla, which are all the spirits that are collected and dead by this time. On this battlefield, hundreds of people are starting to be being knocked out from the spirits. Spirits, however, cannot kill anybody. Spirits are physically unable to. After all, they are not supposed to kill anybody. They are only things that are supposed to be dead. They were never meant to affect this world in that type of way. Only to the caster. Naofumi, using this distraction, he heads in the way of where his eye had caught something at the tip of it. He gets a mana signal from Merlin, and nods his head as he gives an eye to Merlin. He rushes out of sight soon, cloaking himself behind some of the spirits as they start to take over the battlefield. Naofumi makes his way to the back line, where all the priests were starting to take charge. One lonely priest, however. He flusters himself, gathering and calming down. He brings back his back up to a straightforward position, almost like he's entering a meeting. "Why, hello. Who might you be?" As he's sort of slouched, trying to act cool in front of this blue-haired priest. As the guy says, "Oh, stay back. Are you on my side? I mean, our side. God, I don't know. The confused priest with a cat on his shoulder, his blue hair cloaking it behind him. As the cat sees Naofumi, Naofumi swiftly makes his way, sort of trying to calm down the scholar. The cat jumps onto Naofumi's shoulder. Oh, a female one. The pink cat, contrasting with the black one that now rested on top of Naofumi's shoulder. The black cat actually scurried off into a different region. As he says, you need not worry about them. Now, why I'm here is because of you, good sir. As the man says, why are you here for me? I'm just another scholar. As he picks up his glasses while also shuffling the book inside of his hand. Naofumi slips the book out of his hand while he was reaffirming himself and says, wow, you were really planning on destroying me that easily. As the scholar realizes that he's like, actually, wait, you're him? As the scholar takes his way back, as he says, I don't know what you did, but you're gonna pay for it. However, the scholar, now realizing that the book isn't in his hand anymore, he says, what? Oh, shit. Please don't kill me. As Naofumi's like, I won't. But this was a dangerous spell. A 7th level spell is something not to be taken so lightly. You're planning on freezing me to the bone. He says, I swear I didn't mean to. No. I'm quite proud, actually. It really is you, Merlin. As Merlin looks up to him saying, how... If you really are the devil shield, how do you... there's never enough time in this world to explain. But I have something to show you. Are you interested? As Naofumi raises his hand out to Merlin. This younger Merlin was kind of hesitant to grab his hand, as he says, if you would excuse me, I have a battle to fight. So if we could hurry things up here. As Merlin decides to take his hand. And Naofumi says, hold on to your britches. This'll hurt a little. As Naofumi jumps up into the air and re-lands right in front of the old Merlin. Now crippled, his lips quivering, trying to make words. His old, saggy, skin lapping down to the sides of him. God, you even seem worse than you were 5 minutes ago. Merlin, Merlin. As, the younger Merlin throws up in the corner after the big jump, as he says, you could have warned me. He looks back up saying, when am I going to get my... Oh, holy moly, who is this handsome fellow? As he's just like, well, this is you. From the future. As Merlin's like, no wonder. He slowly creeps his way up to the old Merlin. Old Merlin says, I always wondered what I thought I would say to myself. As Naofumi's like, you're taking this pretty lightly. Now if you gentlemen will excuse me, I'm going to fight the war. As Naofumi returns to the battle, creating a ash vortex around the battlefield, stopping anybody from running away. I hate as it is, even if they are good of heart. As this ash tornado, which was basically picking up enemies and throwing them all around. After all this, the spirits were almost killed by all of the holy magic that was around there. The outer tornado was actually made there to stop anybody from running, and also made to mix up the lines of men. He had now sufficed almost 2,500 of them without even lifting a finger. All that was left was the back line of priests, led by the saint, the one that they all looked up to at this point. Naofumi was standing in the middle of the battlefield. He could hear the Merlin becoming excited about life again. This made him smile. Merlin, you old hag. I'm happy for him. To find life again with your younger self. He's starting to sound like me. But then he looks ahead, seeing all of the priests running away, and even the archdeacon, the most powerful guy in this whole city, that had corrupted all of these men, forcing Naofumi to have to turn them to ash. He especially wanted to kill him, but he'll have to wait. But he hears somebody behind him, a man on top of a bird, a massive bird, as it squawked in the middle of the air. It was Motoyasu, carrying a bloody spear. As feathers fell down to the ground, bloody feathers. Motoyasu lands right next to him with a half-botched flight. The hell happened to you? I told you it would be dangerous to fight next to me. You were correct about that, as Motoyasu gets off of it. I assume you've had a revenge, as he looks up to the spear. Motoyasu says, no, not yet. She fled to the inner castle. And so the heroes were supposed to wait there. I assume, at least. That would be tactically smart. It seems that they have been fighting Lily this entire time. Of course, she would put up such a big fight. It wouldn't be Lily otherwise. He says, disperse! He smashes his hand down on the ground, dispersing the tornado. The ash, dome and tornado, as all of the spirits start to leave this realm. And the Spirit King thanks him for a good fight. He's been wanting Naofumi to use his powers for a while now. Naofumi fist bumps the Spirit King before he leaves. Alright, now. As he steps on one of the men's face, he looks up and sees the massive castle now standing in front of him. The only thing waiting for him and in his way. Alright. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a joy, really. But the next part probably be the last one. After all, what am I doing this for? 20 views? I hope that you all had a great journey and loved this whole thing, for it will be coming to an end soon. I thank you all, and I'll see you sometime somewhere. Goodbye.
Genie grant, I wish I'm getting rich, huh? Remember when I said I hit a lick, huh? I don't really wanna fuck the bitch, what? Willie went and made another hit, okay, like Prada on my motherfucking kid, huh? Louis on my motherfucking hip, huh? Curry how I dunk, no switch, hey, fucker gonna fuck that bitch, hey, if you ain't gon' fuck with me, you a dumb fuck, put up a hit up, I feel like one punch, look at my bank and I'm getting dumb rich, and I'm gonna count it up till 100.